Good morning and happy Sunday. Another Sunday morning and another conversation. Like most of the weeks that we end up talking, it'll be about either something that is working, isn't working, did work or didn't work in this crazy life that we're managing and trying to lead to be better humans for those people around us that we're trying to show up for. So as we go on just a little bit of a stroll this morning, enjoy the beautiful weather, I want to remind myself and share with you guys something that I learned from my counselor, Amber. Just total shout out to Amber. She's been in my corner for many, many years and has walked me through some very dark and difficult times. But this morning, her advice, the advice I'm going to share with you this morning, she didn't give it to me this morning. She's given it to me in different segments over the years, but it's a very simple yet profound reminder. And I'll share it with you up front and then we'll dive into it. When you are dealing with a high conflict person, whether that's in the workplace or personally, whether it's an ex or a boss, or no matter what the case is, high conflict people can tend to try to elicit a lot of energy from you. And they can also try to get you to justify yourself, try to pull you into an argument, make you feel like you need to defend yourself or over-explain yourself. And here's the reminder. No is a complete sentence. No response is sometimes the best response. And those two very, very true points I failed to implement this week with my ex, who is a very, very, very difficult and high conflict person. You see my cat following me in the background? He's kind of like a dog. He's a weird cat, but anyway, he likes to go on walks as long as the dogs aren't out. And that's him. He'll just follow us anyway. It's kind of funny. And at any rate, this week I allowed her to basically drive my emotions and continue in banter that I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I allowing her to have any say in this conversation, and not from a respect or a disrespect standpoint. Why am I allowing this person to continue to drive my emotions? Well, to my defense, or in our defense as people who try to resolve conflict or try to avoid conflict, we'll do that by doing exactly what I said that high conflict people will try to elicit from us. They want us to justify our actions, they want us to argue, they want us to defend, and they want us to explain ourselves or over-explain ourselves. And they get energized off of that drama, off of that, just sucking the life out of people and sapping them of energy. And this week, I allowed it to interfere with my parenting time, when the response just should have been nothing. I should have just said no or not responded at all. And I didn't respond in a negative way or a bad way. I just continued to feed the fire, feed the conversation. And, ask yourself, have I been doing that in a dynamic with a high conflict person, in your life? Have you been doing that? And I think that if there is that type of a person in your life, whether it's a boss, whether it's, a current significant other or a former significant other, or a parent, or, a friend, people who really care for you should have the emotional intelligence to pour into the relationship and not just demand and take from it. So anyhow, I want you guys to remember, there's nothing new under the sun that we'll talk about on this channel. And I'm sharing something that might seem profound. It didn't come from me 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10. But I want to share it with you because I believe in having these honest and genuine conversations with you guys. How are we supposed to, even just looking in the last couple videos that we've done together and the conversations that we've had, consistency beats intensity, right? You cannot manage what you don't measure. We need to be people who are responding and not reacting. All of these communication techniques are really just trying to drive us in the direction of being a better person, a better communicator, a better listener. And sometimes less is more in a conversation. A simple no, or no response at all is a response. I've been trying to be more precise and thoughtful about my responses to people, and listen and understand before trying to be understood, I think they teach us that in like grade school. How many of us grow up to be adults who lack that capacity or capability? I heard in my audio, I'm usually always working through an audio book of some sort. And I don't know, I'd never heard this saying or short poem before, but I really liked it. And so I'll share it with you guys this morning. And it goes like this. Once there was a wise old owl who lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we all be a little bit more like that wise old bird? Very rarely is it the case that we regret not saying something, right? It's almost always the opposite. Man, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Man, I wish I wouldn't have responded that way or reacted that way. You can always add to the conversation, but you can't subtract. It's kind of like I'm reminded of teaching my kids how to make pancakes, and they're still trying to get down, how much water to add to the batter or milk to add to the batter. And I'm like, you can always add water or milk, but you can't subtract it. Well, the same goes for our conversations, right? You can always add or sprinkle on a little bit more if you think about it, but we can't take back the words that come out of our mouth. We're responsible for everything that we say, everything that comes out of our mouths. And so let's be accountable to one another. Let's try to be the wise old bird more often than the person who's over-explaining, who's justifying, arguing, defending, over-explaining. Even the Bible speaks to this and says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. The Bible also says that our tongue has the power of life and death. That's really profound. We gotta tell our kids that all the time. If they're being critical in their speech. And I have a 9, 11, and 13-year-old, so sometimes there's a fine line between, are they just razzing each other and being My son's a lot like me in that way. He'll be sarcastic. And sometimes it's funny, but sometimes it can be darn right critical or harsh. And I'll hear him and I'll go, oh man, he got that from me. And most of the time it's just lighthearted and out of good fun or being good-natured, sarcastic or whatnot. But man, we do have the ability, our tongue does have the ability to speak life or death. And so we try to be encouraging and speak greatness into one another in our family. It doesn't always come out that way, and there's days where our patience are dwindling. And so anyhow, I just wanted to be able to have that conversation with you this morning and take a look inward. And as we approach the week ahead of us, ask yourself, is there somebody who is eliciting more of my energy and more conversation than what's necessary? And if so, maybe a no with a period at the end, or a no response, or just a no with no explanation tied to it. I came from a house of absolute love and peace and over-explainers. My mother's one of the sweetest, kindest women on planet Earth. And she's so sweet. She's always so afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. My sisters are the same way. And my dad tends to be a little bit more direct. And I'll find myself, depending on the situation, being more direct like my father, or maybe a little more on the over-explaining side like my mother. And when you're talking about like communicating with your wife or a loved one, man, that's a great capability to have, is to assure somebody and put their mind at ease, explain where you're coming from when you say something or whatnot. But sometimes if it's just an acquaintance or a colleague of some sort, not like a real close friend, are we over-explaining ourselves? Think about the last time that you were invited to a function and you couldn't make it. Were you like, oh man, I'd love to, but I got this and that and this and that, and then it ends up being a negotiation of sorts. Oh, well, that's okay. Why don't you just do it like this? Or why don't you just reschedule? Or how about we do it like this? Maybe a response should be something a little more crisp and a little bit more, with a little bit more finality. I can't make it, but thank you so much for thinking of me. Period. Not, well, I can't make it because I've got this or I've got that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't add an explanation in every circumstance, but are we keeping enough white space on our calendar for our families, for ourselves? Sometimes saying no is the best thing that we can do, because oftentimes saying yes means we're saying no to something else. And saying no to something now means that our yes is still available for something that we absolutely need. So, anyhow, that's it for today. I hope you were able to take something from our conversation this morning and our beautiful walk this Sunday morning. As always, I love our conversations, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. Remember, no is a complete sentence, and no response is a response. Make it a great week.